Weeks before she killed him, she said it out loud while he sat right next to her in that same car. "I'm gonna wreck this car right now." He heard it. He stayed. At 5:30 in the morning, she did exactly what she said she would. 100 miles per hour into a brick wall. The black box recorded everything. Accelerator pressed fully to the floor for an extended period. Brake pedal never touched. Not once. Her name is Mackenzie Shirilla, and before this video ends, you will understand why the word accident was never the right word. Dominic Russo was 20 years old. He and Mackenzie had been together for 4 years. They were living together. He was interested in music, basketball, and stock trading. His family described him as close, warm, and full of plans. Davion Flanagan was 19. He had been adopted at 8 years old by the Flanagan family. He was the starting running back at Strongsville High School. After graduation, he worked full-time and had applied to Barber College. He was planning his future. On the night of July 30th into the early morning of July 31st, 2022, the three of them were out together. At 5:30 in the morning, they got into Mackenzie's Toyota Camry. She drove down Progress Drive, a quiet suburban street in Strongsville, Ohio, deliberately chosen. The Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's office later stated that she chose the early morning hours specifically because the streets were relatively quiet. She accelerated and kept accelerating. The forensic examiner who analyzed the car's event data recorder testified to what the black box showed. The accelerator pedal was being pressed down at full force. At no point had Shirilla attempted to brake. The car had no defects. The brakes worked perfectly. She simply never used them. Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan were pronounced dead at the scene. Mackenzie Shirilla survived. She was seriously injured, but she survived. But here is what the Netflix documentary did not show you. In the days before the crash, investigators found evidence suggesting Shirilla had driven down that same road before. The same road. The same building at the end of it. Days before. She may have been there already, looking at it, learning the distance. That detail changes everything about the word accident. In the immediate aftermath, investigators treated it as a terrible accident. A young woman, a car crash. Tragic, but not unusual. Then they started looking at the relationship. The relationship between Shirilla and Russo was described in court documents as toxic. Shirilla had been threatening and hitting Russo in the months leading up to the crash. Russo's mother testified that in the 6 months before the crash, there had been escalating arguments, breakups, and threats, that Shirilla had become increasingly possessive. Then investigators found the recordings. Audio captured in July 2022, uncovered after Russo died, contained Shirilla threatening to force her way into Russo's house. And in another recording, while Russo was riding in the car with her, she said it. "I'm gonna wreck this car right now." On record, while he was sitting in the passenger seat, weeks before the crash. He heard it. He stayed in the car. In March 2023, the prosecution submitted additional evidence to the medical examiner's office. Transcripts from cell phones, still photographs, video images, interviews with witnesses. Based on that additional information, the medical examiner amended the autopsy report for both victims, changing the cause of death from accident to homicide. The crash that had been recorded as an accident was now a murder investigation. Mackenzie Shirilla chose a bench trial. A judge, not a jury, would decide her fate. Her defense argued that she suffered from a blood pressure disorder called POTS, which causes momentary blackouts, that she had no memory of the crash, that it was impossible to know what had happened in those final seconds. The prosecution argued something else entirely. The gas pedal had been pressed for an elongated period at 100%. The steering wheel was turned slightly left, then right, then straightened out over the final stretch of road. That is not a blackout. That is a correction. Someone correcting their steering to aim more precisely at what they were driving toward. And remember, she had been on that road before. Days earlier, she knew exactly where the building was. The judge listened to everything, every piece of evidence, every witness, every expert. And on August 14, 2023, she read her verdict. This was not reckless driving. This was murder. The judge said Shirilla morphed from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels as she made her way down the street. Guilty. 12 felony charges. At sentencing, Davion Flanagan's sister addressed the court. She asked for the longest possible sentence. Dominic Russo's mother looked at Mackenzie Shirilla and told her she should be thankful that she is still alive, that she has a future. Mackenzie Shirilla read a statement. "To the families of Dom and Davion," she said, "I am so deeply sorry." She was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years. Her earliest possible parole date is October 29, 2037. The judge also permanently suspended her driver's license. Multiple appeals followed. All of them failed. In March 2026, the Ohio Supreme Court declined to review her appeal. The Netflix documentary, The Crash, was released in May 2026. It was the most watched film on the platform for 2 consecutive weeks. And in the week after it dropped, YouTube exploded with videos arguing the documentary left out key evidence against her, including the rehearsal, the same road, the same building, days before. That detail was not in The Crash. You just heard it here. What does it take for a relationship to reach this point? Forensic psychologists who reviewed the case described a pattern consistent with extreme possessive behavior escalating over time. The threats, the physical altercations, the recordings, the statement in the car weeks before. This was not a sudden explosion of violence. This was a trajectory. Prosecutors described it precisely. There is no doubt that this happened because of the relationship with Dominic. The defendant's intent was clearly to end that, and she took everybody that was in the car with her. That last phrase, she took everybody that was in the car with her. Davion Flanagan had nothing to do with the relationship. He was in the back seat. He was a friend along for the ride home. He had applied to barber college. He was planning his future. He was in the wrong car. As of 2026, Mackenzie Shirilla is incarcerated at the Ohio Reformatory for Women. Prison records show she has accumulated 36 conduct reports in nearly 3 years of her sentence. Her family continues to maintain her innocence. Her father told NBC News in May 2026 that he believes she was falsely accused, that there was no evidence. The black box disagrees. The accelerator pressed fully. The brake never touched. The steering wheel corrected, aimed. And the road she chose, she had seen it before. The judge called it controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful. The question this case leaves is not really about the crash. It is about what happens in the space between a threat spoken out loud in a car and the morning that threat becomes real. She said it out loud while he was sitting next to her weeks before. "I'm going to wreck this car right now." He heard it. He stayed. That is the part of this case that stays with you. Not the wall, not the speed. The weeks between the warning and the morning it happened. The recordings that existed. The road she visited before. The brake pedal that was never touched. None of it was an accident. If this case stayed with you, share it with someone you trust. And if you want more cases like this one, subscribe. A new case drops every Thursday. I'll see you in the next one.